My husband got my best friend pregnant and now is forcing me to raise the child. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. About a year ago, I started getting suspicious that my husband was having an affair. So naturally, I started investigating. I went through his phone when he was asleep, but I didn't find anything. That's when I realized that I needed to start following him. And when I did is when I found out who he was cheating on me with. Turns out, it was my best friend. My best friend had just gotten a divorce with her husband at the time. And she told me that she was trying to have fun with as many men as she possibly could. I just never thought it would occur to her to sleep with my husband. For a full week, I followed my husband and he would see my best friend every single day. Sometimes they would meet up at her house since her husband left her the house. Sometimes they would end up at cheap motels. Of course, I started taking pictures on my iPhone to keep track of everything in case I needed to get a divorce. Come to find out, she was pregnant with twins. After realizing that my husband was cheating on me with my best friend, I confronted him and her together. I pretended I was having a little dinner party and I invited her over. Really did make a nice dinner though. They did not suspect a thing. Comes into the house and gives me a big hug. Right then and there, I hand her my phone so that she could see all of the pictures I took of her and my husband making out outside of motels. Then she looks at my husband and says, "What did you say?" What did you say? He didn't even bother to look me in the face, handed me back my phone and simply left the house. Then I'm left alone with my husband. Start confronting him and then he tells me that he made a mistake and that he was just bored with our relationship and that he loved me. He manipulated me so much that night that I ended up forgiving him. He promised he would never see my best friend again. And guess what? My bestie kept looking for my husband. One night she came over and told me that she needed to see him. I did not let her into the house and she started yelling. That's when she finally says I'm pregnant with twins. Apparently she had been pregnant for 3 months and didn't tell anybody. And my husband was happy about it. That's when he asked me if I would be willing to raise the kids. After she told us that she was 3 months pregnant, my husband was so happy. He told her that he would take care of everything and not to worry about the medical bills. As soon as my best friend left our house, my husband turns to me and says, "You and I are gonna raise those kids without her." That's when I said he was crazy. I was not about to raise the kid that he had with my best friend. That's when he said that if I didn't, he would divorce me and marry my best friend. I do have to say, I am still madly in love with my husband. We've only been together for 3 years. He was my dream man when we got married and he still kind of is my dream man even though he did cheat on me with my best friend. When he threatened me with that, I said okay. The next 6 months, my best friend moved into our house while she was pregnant. My husband and I served her hand and foot. And in some weird way, my best friend and I became best friends again, even though she was having my husband's babies. Also turns out that she was having twins. During the pregnancy, my husband told her that she could stay to live with us and we could all raise the kids together. To be honest, I didn't mind the idea. My husband's real plan was to try to get rid of her, so that we could move away and she wouldn't be able to find us. But my best friend was looking forward to having her babies. Once she gave birth, my husband decided to bring her back to our house with the babies. Exactly a week later, he kicked her out of our house. And he offered her $50,000 to give the babies to us. And she agreed. So now I'm stuck raising the twins by myself. My husband is always away for work. My best friend never even comes around to look at her kids. My husband told me that he doesn't think we should have our own kids. He also promised he wouldn't cheat again, but I don't know what to believe. What should I do? Am I the asshole for wanting to expose my lying, cheating mother? A month ago, I borrowed my mom's phone and she had no idea, but I looked at all of her apps and found that she was cheating with multiple men. I'm 26 years old and my parents have now been married for 30 years. I actually got separated when I graduated from high school, but then they got back together a few years later. My mom has always been the one that wants to separate my dad, but he keeps wanting to get back together with her. My dad is actually in love with this woman. He adores her. He does everything for her. He's super affectionate with her, loves to take her out on dates, gives her so much of his time, and she still doesn't appreciate it. I've always been closer to my dad than my mom. My mom's always trying to find an excuse to go party with her friends, but now I know why. Like I said, I ended up borrowing her phone and she probably didn't expect me to go snooping. And honestly, it wasn't even my intention. I'm scrolling on her phone and I see the app Tinder. I nearly fell out of my seat. So I quickly scrolled through everything and started taking pictures. My mom was sending nudes to random men. That's when I saw that she was sending nudes to men on different apps. Not only was she on Tinder, she was also on Bumble and an app for older people. Mind you, my father is still in love with this woman. I managed to take pictures of everything on the apps. Here's the worst part. Start going through her messages and that's when I found that she has a boyfriend. At that point, I didn't know how long they'd been together. Now I know that she's been with him for 6 months. So every single time she goes on her weekend trips with her friends, she's actually with her boyfriend. And get this, she uses my dad's money to pay for everything. An entire week passed before I confronted her. First, I didn't know how to confront her, but I had to just do it. Every time I saw my dad, I would start to cry and he was worried about me. I didn't have the heart to tell my dad until I confronted my mom. I went up to her and I showed her all the receipts I had. Then she got pissed at me for looking through her phone. By the way, at this point, I'm still living with my parents. That's when she threatened to kick me out of the house if I told my dad anything. My own mother threatening me. Then she tried to smack me across the face, so I smacked her. After she slapped me, I slapped her back. And I slapped her so hard she actually fell on the floor. I instantly felt bad and tried to apologize. That's when she started to cry and I started to cry. I asked her to just be honest with me and tell tell me the truth. She told me that she wasn't in love with my dad anymore, but that she felt bad for him because he was still in love with her, and that she'd been dating this new guy for 6 months. She even confessed that she was addicted to going on dating apps and flirting with men. That's when I told her she needed to tell my dad, that she needed to stop using his money to take her boyfriend out. Then another confession. She had spent over $25,000 on hotels that she would book for her and her new boyfriend. And apparently this guy was broke. He couldn't pay for himself. She tried to negotiate with me. If I don't tell my dad, she'd break up with her boyfriend and stop using the apps. I mean, she's my mother and I don't want to cause her pain, but it's my dad. I ended up telling her that I wouldn't tell my dad. But 2 nights ago, my dad went on a work trip. My mom is so stupid she actually snuck in her boyfriend through her window. I heard them doing the dirty all night. Now she's begging me again not to tell my dad. I'm planning on telling my dad tonight. I'll have to keep you guys updated. Give me advice. I finally told my dad that my mom had been cheating on him for months. And when my mom came home, my dad slapped her. And he pushed her up against a wall. I saw the whole thing go down. Of course, I got in between my dad and my mom. Obviously, my mom was totally confused. She didn't know why he was attacking her. Finally, my dad tells her that I caught her cheating and I told him about it. My mom looks at me with tears in her eyes and apologizes. Then she started walking to her room and said she was moving out. My dad went after her and tried to hit her again. I pushed him off of her and told him that if he didn't stop, I would call the cops. And my dad said, "What do you expect?" And that I should be on his side. But I couldn't let him put his hands on my mother. My mom and I finally locked ourselves in their room and she started packing her stuff. She apologized again and told me that she was sorry she put me in the middle of this. My dad was so angry, he actually grabbed a knife and started stabbing the door. Called the cops and my mom and I actually ended up moving out together. This whole thing made me realize how awful my dad is. Mom told me that he had been aggressive with her before. My dad keeps coming after my mom too. I think we're gonna have to get a restraining order. I kind of regret having told him. What should I do?
Am I wrong for reading my coworker's fan fiction in front of everyone at work? Yeah, oh my god, it's called fan fiction. It's gonna be weird and inappropriate. Why would you do that? I guess the title sounds bad, but please hear me out. I, 27 male, am a general manager at a fast food restaurant. Not gonna say which because I don't want to get in trouble with my assistant manager, Sophie, 23 female. Sophie and I get along pretty well. We joke, fight about a lot of stuff all the time, and like to prank each other a lot. Like prank calls or making the other do fake orders or writing fake surveys about the other. Or splashing soda on one another. We end up working together a lot since we get a bunch of call-outs, especially at night, and Sophie likes to pick up extra hours. We've both climbed up in the couple of years that we've worked there and have a good relationship. When it's dead, Sophie likes to write fanfiction on her phone, which I sometimes tease her about. A while back, I made Sophie read me a line that she was writing and we were making jokes about it. Last week, I suddenly remembered the fanfiction again and decided to try and find it. I remembered a line that she had read to me and was able to search for it online using quotation marks. I'm not gonna say which show it's from because I don't want anyone to find out, but it was shocking to read. Pretty much the 2 characters in it worked at a fast food chain and ended up falling in love. It was about you too! It got pretty graphic at some parts too. The main character was essentially a representation of Sophie, and the love interest was basically me. I mean, right now to copying conversations that we've had at work. He even had a wife he was cheating on with to be with her. I'm married, but I would never do such a thing. Anyway, a few nights ago, Sophie and the rest of the team threw a party to celebrate a couple of wins, and of course, Sophie pranked me by shoving a cupcake in my face. So I remembered what I read, and I thought it would be a good prank, so I pulled up the fanfiction on my phone and started to read it. Oh my god, this is really bad. When she realized what I was reading, Sophie's eyes started to tear up, which I was not expecting. The rest of the team was joking around with her, but she ran out of the party. Now she's not showing up to her shifts or answering my calls or texts. It's weird that Sophie's acting like this since she usually loves pranks and stuff, so now I'm wondering if I took it too far. But I also feel like she shouldn't be writing those things about me and her too. Oh my god, you moron. Oh my god. She has a crush on you, you idiot. Obviously. Oh, and the thing is you read it first and then you still thought it would be a good idea to read it out loud to people. Once you realize that it's about you, she's crushing on you. It's called fan fiction. It's called fiction because she knows it's never gonna happen. Am I wrong for canceling my wedding even though it's tomorrow? This morning I woke up to a bunch of texts from my sister who lives 14 hours away. She's been pregnant for a little less than 5 months. She was supposed to be the maid of honor at my wedding, but she delivered the news that the doctor told her that she had a miscarriage. I can only imagine the grief my sister is going through. She can't attend my wedding, and even though everything is already booked and we had some guests flying in for the wedding, I just can't have it without her. I thought my fiance would understand, but instead he got extremely upset. We've been planning this date for a while now because it's his mother's birthday and very special to him. But it would make my sister devastated if I had it without her since I know she was looking forward to it. She said she just wasn't ready to celebrate anything at the moment, and as her sister, she feels like it's my responsibility to comfort her. It's early in the morning where I live, and we're prepared for the wedding tomorrow, but I can't stomach having my special day without my sister. Oh, I wouldn't want to either. Oh my god, this is hard. I understand both sides. I told my fiance that after I finish writing this, I'm going to start packing. I need to be with my sister right now. I know everything has been planned out, and I'm ruining a lot by doing this, but I have to put my family first. My fiance is definitely mad at me and called me an asshole because of it. So I was wondering, am I the asshole for canceling my wedding last minute to be with my grieving sister? Okay, there's a lot that goes into this. I don't think you're wrong for wanting to cancel it, and I also wouldn't think that you were wrong if you wanted to hold it either way. I don't think it's right for your sister to try to guilt you into being like, hey, I don't want to have this wedding. I can't be at your wedding, but you shouldn't have it either. That's not right. I 100% get, I would never want to have my wedding without my sister there, but being in the if I were to be in the situation and that happened to my sister, I know my sister, she would still make it out here. Not that I would force it, but one, she would never tell me not to have the wedding, or two, she would just suck it up and, you know, take her losses and just be there for me in my moment. But I don't think you're wrong for wanting to postpone it, you know? So there's no right or wrong answer to this, I think, to be honest. But it just shows how much your sister cares. You care for your sister and how important she is in your life. And so, but I understand everyone's point because it's a wedding and there's a lot of money into it. And like, I don't know.